Okay, so today we're going to go through the problems for the problem of the week for April 19th, 2021. So I'm going to do these problems as suggested on the Google form. So you'll notice that number one says try to use an inverse matrix. Now, you may use any method you wish, but let's try using an inverse matrix. So to find an inverse matrix, okay, of matrix A, I'm going to use a formula. So here is our original matrix. The inverse matrix is going to be equal to 1 over the determinant of the original times, you're going to switch the down diagonal around, and then you're going to change the signs of the other ones. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is this. We're going to rewrite this as a matrix equation. So there's my coefficient matrix. There's my variable matrix. And there's my constant matrix. Okay, so this is matrix A, matrix X, times matrix B. Now to solve that, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides on the left by the inverse. So if I multiply a matrix by its inverse, I get the identity matrix, okay, times the variable matrix is equal to our solution. Okay, so let's try out finding that inverse matrix. Okay, first thing I need the determinant of my original. So my original Okay, so we're going to go down diagonal, up diagonal, so negative 20 minus 6. So negative 20 minus a negative 6 is negative 14. Okay, this is going to have some fairly nasty denominators, but we're going to be fine. So we're going to go 1 over negative 14 times, switch the negative 5 and the 4, and change the signs. Okay? All right, so here we go. We're going to multiply through by that scalar. Now, I'm not going to reduce the fraction, even though I know I can. I am going to take care of the negatives, though. The reason I am not reducing is I want to keep those common denominators in place, because when I do multiply the two matrices together, I'm going to end up adding, and that will give me one less thing to worry about. Okay, so here we go. Okay, now we're going to do our matrix multiplication row by column. It's essentially dot product. Okay, so 5/14 times 10 is 50 over 14. And then negative 2/14 times 11 is negative 22 over 14. And then we move down the row. 3/14 times 10 is 30/14. Negative 4/14 times 11 is negative 44 over 14. If I do my simplification, I get my variable matrix X is equal to 28 over 14. Okay, then negative 14 over 14, which is equal to 2, negative 1. So that tells me that my solution is X is equal to 2, Y is equal to negative 1. Okay? Again, you can use any method you want. Okay? It's up to you. All right. So now we are going to try solving problems 2 and 3 at the same time. We're actually going to solve problem 3 before we do 2, because 3 is asking you for the determinant of the coefficient matrix, and number 2 asks you to solve the system, and it tells you to try to use Cramer's rule. In order to use Cramer's rule, you need the determinant of the coefficient matrix. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to find that determinant of the coefficient matrix. So I'm going to call this determinant of A. Now be very careful when you do this. I have made silly mistakes on these. Well, I shouldn't call them silly. I should call them careless. Okay, make sure you have everything written down correctly. Okay, and then you're going to write the first 2 columns over, because you need to do your down diagonals and your up diagonals. Okay, so very carefully, very slowly. -1 times 0 times 4 is 0. 2 times 1 times 3 is 6. -3 times a 2 times a -4, that is going to be positive 24. Now we're going to do our up diagonals. That's going to be 0. That's going to be a positive 4. And that's going to be 2 times 2, which is 4. That's 16. So I get 30 and 20 when I add. Now, when you remember, when you do a determinant, it is bottom minus top. I think Edgenuity does major and minor diagonals. That's the vocabulary that they use. So we get 10. Okay. So now what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to solve for x. Okay. Once you solve for x, basically you can use substitution. You can go ahead and use Cramer's rule all the way through if you want. Okay. All right. So the very first thing you do is you're going to replace your first column, this guy, okay, with this right here. Okay, so let's write that down. So 1, 0, 2 replaces the x column. Everything else stays the same. Now, believe it or not, in this recopy, this is where the mistakes tend to happen, because we tend to write it too fast and we tend to write it down wrong. Okay, so now we're going to find the determinant of that. I'm going to call that the determinant of the X matrix. All right, so very carefully. 0, 4, 0. Double check your work. You don't want to make a mistake. 0, -4, 0. So we're going to do bottom minus top. Okay, so to solve for x, we're going to go the determinant of our X matrix divided by the determinant of our very first one. So 8 divided by 10, reducing 4/5. Now, if you look at your answer choices, you'll notice that there was only one with x is equal to 4/5. Okay, but just to be on the safe side, we're going to go ahead and do y. Okay, so now we're going to replace the y column. Okay, we're going to put the x column back. Okay, so we're going to go back to -1, 2, and 3. we're going to replace the 2, 0, negative 4 with the 1, 0, 2. And we're going to find our determinant again. All right, here we go. Go slow. You don't want to make a mistake. -1 times a 0 times a 4, that's a 0. 1 times a 1 times a 3, that's a 3. A 3, -3 times a 2 times a 2, that's a -12. -9. We got our 0, our -2, and our 8. Okay, bottom minus top. Okay. All right, so we've got -15. To find our answer, we go determinant of y is equal to -15 divided by determinant of a, which is 10. That is -3/2, and that's our value for y. So now I know what my answer is, okay? Because it is a multiple choice test or multiple choice worksheet, so we should use that to our advantage, okay? All right. Okay, so now we're going to do problem 4 and 5. Okay. All right. Again, we're going to do them out of order. All right, so 2x, 3x. Making sure I write down everything correctly. Again, most of the mistakes people make on these are miswriting or mismultiplying. You know, it's not something that is huge. Okay, so just double check. All right, so we're going to rewrite as a matrix equation. Don't drop those negatives. Okay, so we're going to first find the determinant of our original. Rewrite the first two columns. Okay, so for this one, I might want to get out a calculator just because the numbers are a little bit bigger. Okay. 2 times 5 is 10 times 17 is 170. 3 times 9 times 5. What is that? 15 times 9? 135. Okay, so that would be negative 135. Okay, now we're going to do up. So that would be negative 125. positive 162. And then 153. Okay. So this is going to be 170. $190. All right, bottom minus top. Got negative 20. All right, so now, okay, all right, you will notice that we do have a solution because our determinant is not 0. Okay, we also notice if we look at our answer choices that all of my x values are different. So if I find that first x value, I should be pretty good. Okay, in the interest of time, we'll only find that first x value. So you remember, you're replacing the column of the variable that you want to find with the constant column. Okay. All right. So 1, negative 16, negative 30 replaces my first column. So then 3, 5, 9. Everything else goes back to normal. And again, for this one, you might want to have a calculator available just because the numbers are a little bit larger. Okay, so very carefully, diagonals. 17 times 5. $810 negative. Let's see, 5 times 16 is 80. 80 times 9. $801. And that's positive. Now we're going to go up. Okay, so now we get to add or combine. Okay, so that's 76. Okay, and then bottom minus top, and hopefully we did everything right. Oh, made a mistake. Okay, so where's the error? Make sure I copy down everything. Okay, you guys are sitting there probably thinking, what is this lady's problem? Okay, so the mistake is probably in here. So let's get rid of some stuff. Okay. All right. Everything's copied down correctly. Let's see if I can find my error. 1 times 5 times 17, 85. 3 times 9 times a negative 30, negative 810. Negative 5 times negative 16 times 9, 720. Negative 5. Well, the mistake happened somewhere in there. All right, let's go up. See, even with a calculator, you can make mistakes. 750. 81 times 1 is 81. Negative 816. $15. Wow, I'm just really doing well today, huh? All right, bottom minus top. Hey, that looks a lot better, so 20. So x is equal to determinant of my x matrix, determinant of my A matrix. So negative 20 divided by a negative 20, that's a positive 1. Cool. All right. So you can find the answer just based on that. Okay. What's nice about doing these with a multiple choice situation is that you know right away if you make a mistake. Okay. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to let you guys handle the graphing ones on Desmos, but we're going to take a look at that trig one. So the f of x is equal to 3 sine x plus pi over 2 minus 4. Okay, so let's very quickly review. Amplitude lives right here. Okay. Okay. Period is, okay, so this is sine, so the period normally is 2 pi. And then you're going to divide by the coefficient of the x. Okay, so that just happens to be 1. So your period is 2 pi. Okay. And then phase shift. Okay. Now, since this guy is x plus pi over 2, your phase shift, you don't have to do any division by b, okay, is going to be negative pi over 2. Remember, it's always opposite sign because you are in the parentheses, okay? And then we have a vertical shift down. Or you could say negative 4. Okay. Now, just so you are aware, if your graph looks something like this, all right, so your amplitude would be 2. But to get the period and the phase shift, you would have to do a little work. Okay, how I like to do it is I like to factor out this 2. So it looks like this. Just divide everything in that parentheses by 2. So your period is 2 pi divided by 2, which is pi. This is your b value. Okay, and then your phase shift would be negative pi over 8. Okay, all right, so that's a little extra one for you, and I hope this was helpful. Sorry I made so many mistakes.